don't complain about your family members or your friends not supporting you. It's not their job, so don't expect.
Dr. Meghana is a founder of The Mantra, the author of the book You Matter, and a brain performance expert. She's a renowned success coach for CEOs, celebrities, athletes, and executives. What is that advice that you are giving to maybe even somebody now listening that's like, okay, I think I need to start shifting my life today?
So for me,
Dr. Meghana, how are you?
fantastic, thank you. How about you?
Oh my gosh, I'm getting goosebumps because I have so many things to ask you. You are what I call someone who has had such an evolution, and I want to know the beginnings of your journey, how you started to where you are today.
Okay. Thank you, Neeta. So for me, I started about in 1997, and that's where I graduated as an Ayurvedic doctor. And I started my journey with handling critical illness patients, because back then Ayurveda meant that all the resorts are done and now you have to go to Ayurvedic doctor to find if there is the person can save me. So I literally had patients at the 4-stage cancer and autoimmune disorders on steroids for lifelong, and having multiple complications. And that's where the journey truly began, where I started understanding. And I was a fresher. I was this young doctor who got into it, and I realized that these are the patients, those who are not the patients, those who are sick when they were born.
Yeah.
So their body is doing something internally over the period of time that they are falling sick and creating these critical illnesses. So how did their body went from sickness, health to sickness? And that journey pretty much was interesting to realize that there was a lot of mental health and emotions involved into their journey, where probably in the past, somewhere in their life, they had either compromised, they faced some sort of a betrayal or injustice or a loss, a suppression, and they couldn't deal with it. I mean, the coping, nobody teaches us how to cope with our emotions, right? Or what happened in our life. And they were harboring that guilt, shame, regret, resentment, and that was creating a lot of toxicity in their body. So I got.
And you're talking about this.
Yeah.
We're talking about this back then.
Back then, yeah.
Like 20 plus years ago.
Yeah, and there was nothing. You know, there was no internet, there was no.
There's no social media.
Nothing was there, right?
Top 5 ways to
yeah.
get through your stress.
So you can imagine how tough that must have been. Like, telling person that, you know what, hey, you need to repair your past. And people would look at me like,
they were
came
crazy
to fiix my problem. I didn't tell.
Give me a device.
Yeah.
Write it down.
Prescription, exactly, right?
Oh my goodness.
Don't tell me I have something to do with my mind. And it took me quite some time. There was a lot of struggle to make them realize that it is coming from that past. And, working on that past will help them, because what I understand is your body is producing 120 chemicals every single day.
Wow.
And that's the biggest chemical factory on the planet, I feel.
I just want you to say that again, because that is huge. How many chemicals?
Okay. So your body produces about 120 chemicals every single day. Okay? So
this is with stress or without stress?
Both.
Wow.
Now, stress and without stress is your choice. It's like 120 chemicals are there, like all sorts of enzymes and serums, and that is there in the body. So only the stress will add to push the chemicals of cortisol and adrenaline and all those chemicals that are stress hormones. And if you're not stressed, if you're happy, it will produce the dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, endorphins, and all those happy hormones, right? So based on not just what you're going through right now, but based on what happened as a child, based on probably what happened on the way growing up, that would have the deeper impact on your brain. And our brain stores everything, like whatever, especially the traumatic memories.
Yeah.
And that is like a virus file in your computer. And when you have that virus file in your computer, it is going to keep generating the same toxic hormones every single day.
So then how were you healing these patients with stage 4 cancer, with autoimmune diseases like rheumatoid arthritis? I mean, I think every Desi household knows somebody with a rheumatoid arthritis or MS or some sort of autoimmune disease, diabetes
Yep,
is
yep.
like the biggest rampant disease all
Absolutely.
throughout India.
Yeah.
How did you start healing people, and were you healing? Did you start to heal these aggressive cases
Yes.
of these conditions?
So for me, for the first 7 years, I was kind of dabbling and figuring it out what's happening actually. I also didn't know as an Ayurvedic practitioner. But then I started studying deeper. And so there's a part of Ayurveda that talks about mental health, which is called as Agada Tantra.
Say that one more time.
Agada Tantra. So there are 8 wings of Ayurveda.
Tantra.
And out of that, one is Agada Tantra, which talks about the mental health, emotions.
Agata is mind.
Occult.
Occult, okay.
So occult is, people started believing later on that occult is something to do with magic, but it's not. Occult in Ayurveda means which is intangible. And if you look at your body, it's 99.9% space. That is intangible. What is 99.9% space? Is your thoughts. So that's where the whole reading, understanding, using those techniques, using those methods with people, and all of that came in place. Then I started learning a lot about emotional wellness. I started learning. So I must have done 60, 70 or different modalities, figuring it out for myself, what is working best for them. And of course for me, because I have been all through bronchitis patient.
Oh, wow. What's the Ayurvedic sense of bronchitis or any lung?
Yeah, so for the lung, it's basically what I've understood in the emotions is your heart chakra and your throat chakra. So heart chakra is all about compassion, love, anahat. So anahat is basically unstuck. For you to be healing your heart chakra is the most critical aspect of healing any lung issue. And itis means inflammation. So there is something not going right in your space when it comes to love.
Right.
And your personal,
or maybe loving yourself.
Yeah, loving yourself. Maybe in the past you felt you're not loved enough. Or maybe you felt you don't belong. Or maybe you feel that you cannot express love enough. So many things.
Or maybe you
right?
had a loss.
So many things. Grieving about something.
Grieving is such a big
thing.
emotion.
And I think especially after pandemic,
we're grieving the loss of what we had, or the business that we had, the lifestyle that we had, the relationships that we had.
So there's a lot of PTSD rise right now after pandemic.
It's interesting because, looking back at even, I know I shared this yesterday, we had a book launch, and I think even going through some of the diseases my parents had, because my mom had breast cancer, and then it spread to her lungs, and she ultimately passed of lung cancer. My dad had stage 4 lung cancer 3 years later, and passed, 10 months later.
Sorry.
And then my brother, in between those two, he suddenly died of an asthma attack. So again, lungs.
Yeah.
So, and that's grief. So you're saying it's literally the heart chakra and not being able to process some of those really big emotions.
Absolutely.
You said also something about the throat. Tell us a little bit more about that, because I feel like nowadays people are getting this inflammation of the thyroid.
Yes.
And in Ayurveda, not being able to speak your truth, right?
Yes.
So can you unpack that for us?
So what I realize is that
because a lot of women go through this.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of women, if you see the society that has been the way it was, it's a lot of patriarchal society. So there were women at I think any age, any geography I've seen are constantly thinking that they can be the best only when they think for other person. So all of us are trying to fill other people's cup and not really paying attention to ourselves. So I think there is a lot of suppression that is happening in understanding that it's not either or. You can do both.
Right.
And that is something that is causing a lot of toxic, elements inside. Because at the end, I feel it's not the gender that matters. What matters is your evolution. And as long as you're evolving, we do need to pay attention to our evolution as much as we're paying attention to other people's. So I think there's a lot of self-expression and self-esteem issue. And it's generational. It's not, I think, the individual, because sometimes we also see that the patterns are running through the family.
Yes.
And maybe the manifestation is happening at this generation.
Right.
Or sometimes it's also happening that, you know, there's a conflict in women today. Right? What I saw of my mother, what I saw of my grandmother.
Right.
They were not working, they were at home, and now I'm here. I want to take care of my home also, I want to take care of my work also. There's so much conflict. And what are our role models when it comes to working? Men, right? So the conflicting energies, feminine, masculine, imbalance. And the moment the feminine and masculine goes in imbalance, it first affects the endocrine glands.
Oh. Hence the hyperthyroid,
Absolutely.
hypothyroid.
Absolutely.
Because we're either being too much in our masculine,
Yeah.
not enough in our feminine.
Absolutely. There's no harmony. So balance won't be there probably, but we can have an harmony. I see a lot of PCOS. When I was practicing back then, I started seeing suddenly a lot of PCOS on rise because there is some sort of a feeling that I am as a woman not enough. I need to be that gender to create that success. Or I've heard this like 25 years back when I was ambitious and thinking that I want to do this. I've heard from people, you know, my own family members that, oh, as a woman, you can't be that ambitious. As a woman, you have to do this first and not this first. So there's so many conflicting ideas, right, around.
And but then there's such a rise of PCOS,
Absolutely.
you know, polycystic ovarian syndrome. It's become, you know, so rampant.
Absolutely.
And you're saying it's because of the emotional manifestation of what we've been suppressing. So now that we know the issues, and many of these patients have been coming to you for 20 plus years, what was the protocol, or how somebody is listening to this now and is like, okay, I'm on board. What do I need to do? How do I start healing?
Yeah. So the first thing I would say is repair your past. You've got to go back, and it's not just your life. Because a lot of times people say that, but I had a great childhood. My parents never stopped me from doing this, and I was doing this. It's not just you. You're not one unit in this universe. We all come from, like, if you just calculate the 9 past generations, we are probably standing on more than 4,000 ancestors' shoulders.
Yes.
So that means there's so much that is coming through your DNA. So going inwards to identify where is your discomfort in your body in terms of who you are. So the first thing is that I know it's not easy, but probably like self-inquiry would be something that I would, and being honest, there's this drop your judgments towards anything. You know, the first thing I think we start judging ourselves and thinking about, I should be doing this, or I should not be doing this. Why am I doing this? Things like that. So drop the judgment and just go back and say, okay, this is me, and who really am I? Now I know it can't be a blanket question like that,
Right.
but literally going back and thinking that what sort of facades that I put on myself that I'm truly not.
Yeah, because I think a lot of times, especially in this society, in this culture that we have, it's all about the beliefs that are layered upon the beliefs of the whoever is living with you, the aunties, the uncles, the brothers, your parents, the grandparents, the pleasing of the elders, and what the expectations, and it's so layered and layered that I don't think we even know what our truest core belief systems are, or they're actually formed from the tiniest thing that happened to us when we were 4 or 5 or 2,
or even in the womb.
Yes, even in the womb.
And especially with women, because we somehow are talking about women right now, especially the women, I think the womb passes the previous traumas of the previous generations.
Yeah.
So it's a lot going on in your space to realize that who you truly are, like who you want to become. If you
Right.
don't get it, I know it's a lifelong inquiry, but at least to begin with that first step, that who you are right now and who you want to become.
I mean, it's huge, and for those who are listening to this and they're skeptical and they're like, I don't know, what is the things that you've noticed when people started to repair their past and they started to do the work of healing and more self-love with themselves?
A lot of excavation, a lot of can of worms, a lot of, a mirror, like where you start realizing that, oh, all my life, see, a lot of people, I realize that, first of all, people come into this journey for two reasons. The first reason is they want to heal themselves so that they can prove that they have not done anything wrong and the other people have done something wrong to them. Okay, those are the people, those who keep struggling because they don't see the result.
Right, they're not taking personal responsibility.
Yeah, they're taking responsibility, but to prove other person wrong.
Right? So it's still not a full personal responsibility.
It's not. And the second person who comes in this journey is, I don't care what happened to me in the past, but I want to heal myself, just to heal myself so that I can create something beautiful in the future. I think those are the second ones, those who actually accelerate their journey. And what I realize is that there's a lot that comes out that you need to really process. And a lot of times the resistance within us does not allow us to process that for one single reason, that we feel that if I accept what is came out right now, then the entire life that I lived seems to be a lie.
Oh, wow.
And that is like, I don't want to believe that I lived a lie.
Yeah.
So I keep continuing lying to myself more and more and more.
And at the expense of who? Yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's been interesting because being in, India, coming back, seeing family over the last 3 weeks, I feel like my nervous system has truly been on overdrive. And I'm like, oh my goodness, because then I see, the cousins and the other sister-in-laws and all of the relatives and everyone's telling me what's really going on with them. And, don't tell this person or don't tell that person or let's not say it in front of her. And it's like constant stories and, we make meaning of what other people think of us. So then we react to those things. And then the drama keeps growing and growing and growing, but nobody's actually having brave conversations to say, is that what you really meant when you said that? Is it actually not okay that I go out and have a cup of coffee or even a drink with, a friend that I haven't seen in a while? How do you start to, navigate interpersonal dynamics for even your patients when they're first starting to even maybe find their voice?
Yeah. So I tell people that, look, your friends and your family, it's not their responsibility to understand your journey. It is your responsibility to understand your journey.
That's it.
Right?
That's big.
So stop expecting, the first thing. And I say that we are the product of our environment, right? Our environment is more powerful than our willpower. So in that case, if this environment is not helping you, nobody stopped you from finding other environments that can nurture you. So then the question comes, oh, where will I get that other environment? I said, you can go to a mental health professional and there are communities there probably. You can find online communities. There are so many different communities. Like I have my community of more than 50,000 people, those who are evolving in their life, and they are literally there for each other. Because when you are in this journey, you probably are the torchbearer of your family.
You are, yeah.
Right? So maybe nobody is going to understand you. And it's not even their journey, it's not even their aspiration to understand you.
I like to call them the brown sheep, the rainbow sheep of the family, because you're doing something so wildly different that people are like, what are they doing?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of times, I feel, Neeta, that why do we get the backlash from our own family is not because they don't want us to grow, but because they're scared. They love us and they're scared that whatever this person is doing, I don't understand. So if that person falls down, how do I save that person?
Yeah.
So let me keep that person with me.
Tight.
It's like a frog in the well.
Right, tight. I'm not going to let them go.
Let them go.
And God forbid if they do go, I'm going to be so angry and upset and resentful because I couldn't do it myself. And I'm seeing this a lot of like, oh yeah, I don't know if what they're gonna say, so I'm not gonna go do it. And I'm like, but you're now 40. You're gonna keep doing this for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. But I feel like people listening to this conversation, you are breathing and speaking life to them. And what is that advice that you are giving to maybe even somebody now listening that's like, okay, I think I need to start shifting my life today?
The first thing, as I said, the self-inquiry. The second thing I would suggest is, what helped me since childhood, I feel, is writing a thought journal.
Oh, brilliant.
I call it a dump journal, practically. Not all the thoughts, but basically, all your, to be in a very crude way, we all take a dump for body, right?
Yeah.
Why not take a dump for your mind?
So true.
It has to be emptied. So how do you do it? You take a journal and write it as your dump journal and write all your thoughts that come to you.
And I think it's so important because even here, being in India, your personal space is cramped. There is no personal space. There's no personal space. Everybody is around you all the time. And so to be able to sit with your thoughts or say something out loud, maybe to scream, even to yell, to punch something, maybe you can't do that. But what you can do is a personal thought dump.
Exactly.
In a journal.
Absolutely.
That is your time.
Yeah.
And that is
and especially in India, Neeta, we also seen that people are scared to do the journal.
Yeah.
Because what if somebody reads?
Oh yes, that's the big thing. I don't want anybody to catch me writing my journal.
Yeah. So you know what? Just simply do this. Like, go anywhere. Maybe a place in nature, or maybe in a coffee shop. Do anything. Write that, tear it off, and throw it away. Because it's anyway dump. You have to flush it.
Oh, that's good.
Right? So you don't have to worry. I mean, that should not be your worry to not do something.
I don't want to write it because somebody's going to see it and read it.
Right?
Yeah.
So you can do all those things. So the third thing that I want people to do, Neeta, is maintain a gratitude journal. People don't understand how gratitude works. Gratitude literally rewires your brain. It is proven scientifically that it rewires your brain. How does it work? That when you start writing gratitude, so what you write about gratitude about, the things that you find are good for you, right? It could be your body, it could be the air that you're breathing, it could be the water that you're drinking, it could be any person or anything, even the roof on your head. Even this internet that they are consuming this content, you have to be grateful for. People don't find things because when the things are going wrong in their life, what am I going to be grateful for? Everything is going wrong. No, it's not like that.
Or why me? Why me?
Yeah, right? So start finding things that are working for you. And how this will help? It won't happen overnight, but there's a part of your brain which is called as reticular activation system. And reticular activation system is your navigation system, just like your maps, right? And this will help the reticular activation system to literally focus on the things that are happening good for you. So now, once those things are over, what will the reticular activation system do? It'll start looking for the things for you, and it'll start showing you the opportunities to create a better life for yourself.
Right. It's literally, we're rewiring our neural pathways.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting because when you're like, you come from this bubble of, from the West, lived in LA for a little bit. Now we're in Austin, Texas, but then you come home to India, and just in the last 3 weeks, we have this gratitude practice that we have with our family where my son will usually lead grace, and grace it's not religious, nothing like that, but it's let's just bless the food, let it nourish our bodies, and we say one thing that we're grateful for, and we go around the table. And now we have the relatives over, the uncles, aunties, my in-laws, everybody else, and so some of the cousins and some of the younger people, they're like, what is that? Why do we have to do that? That's so dumb. And they're changing the subject. It's so hard for them to pick one thing that they're grateful for. And I realize, I'm like, wow, this is not a concept that people actually do. And now I'm seeing it because being here for the last 3 weeks, everything is complaining. Everything is like how bad everything is. And it's like constantly like a victim spiral.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people, when they go home to see their relatives, whether it's during the holidays or, just going back to your hometown. And you can be that one oddball out.
Absolutely.
And it's so important to bring that practice back, because you don't realize how people always ask, and I'm sure they ask you, and for people listening, they're probably asking them the same thing, like, how are you so positive? How are you so, like, they want more of you, and they want more and more and more of you, and they think you can fix all of your problems. I'm not there to be a coach or a therapist to any of my family members. That's off limits. But then how do we become that if we want to be that? You're saying it's the gratitude.
Gratitude. And I personally feel that the moment you start doing this, you will not see the change in maybe one day. But you do this for 90 days. There has to be a transformation in you.
Done. Everybody listening, do this for 90 days.
Absolutely. And don't complain about your family members or your friends not supporting you. It's not their job, so don't expect. Find the communities that can support you and help you, and stop telling yourself that somebody did this to me. Okay, whatever happened to you in the past may not be your fault, but it's definitely your responsibility to change it now.
It's your responsibility, and this is where we take personal action. And I think for a lot of us, having traditional elders who they feel wronged, or somebody betrayed them, or, I think I was just sharing with you, my mother-in-law says, but nobody goes to the gym. Everyone's so old. And you're like, well, actually, find another community. And this is what I've told her as well. But and I think for a lot of us who have elderly family members or aunts, uncles, or people that we want to take on our journey, we can't really take them on our journey. That's their own journey. But I think the thing is there are things out there. Maybe have them listen to this episode, because they'll be so inspired by you, Dr. Meghna.
But it's not just you, Neeta. I would say that same thing has happened in my house. Like my both in-laws are, both of them have diabetes. And I've been screaming in their ears that stop drinking milk. This is poison for you, okay? They did not. And after 5 years, their doctor told them that stop doing this. And they stopped it. In a moment, they said, okay, we are not drinking milk anymore.
Wow.
I gave them a book on it to read, how milk is creating toxicity in your body and not helping you for diabetes. So it's not just you.
Thank you. I feel the pain.
Like in Hindi, they say, "Ghar ghar ki kahani hai."
That is so true. It is wild. It is wild. And so, my husband and I, we've just decided, we're like, you know what? We can create transformation outside of the household. Inside, it is what it is.
Yeah.
And I think that, for anybody who has family members and you really, you want that next evolution for them, I think that to be having grace for yourself is the big thing. And so where can people learn from you? Because I think that you are going to get a ton of new people wanting your newsletters, your courses. How do you work with people? Tell us all of it before we get into our final round.
Sure, thank you. So what I do is I do a 3-hour masterclass as an introductory masterclass where I talk about overall everything, that where your patterns are coming from, because everything is a pattern. Your diabetes, your cardiovascular disorders, autoimmune disorders, whether it's a pattern in your career that you're not getting promoted or somebody else is getting opportunity, whether you're losing money or whether it's to do with your toxic relationship, everything is pattern. Yep. So the moment you realize that there are, what we have researched and understood, there are 33 different patterns psychologically we have as a human, and if those 33 patterns are present in your space, then there is higher chances that you will be having some other issue. So I do a 3-hour masterclass where I reveal a certain parts of it. Of course, it's a huge subject. You know it yourself. You can't just pack it in 3 hours. But
of course,
I try to do that. And anybody who wants to reach out can send us a DM on Instagram. On my handle,
we can even put it in the show notes.
Yeah, we can do
if
that.
It's a free masterclass.
Absolutely, we can give them free. It's not a free masterclass.
Okay.
But whoever watches the episode and would like to go for it, I would give you a complimentary link.
Okay, that would be great. We'll link it in the show notes, because I think that if you're beginning your healing journey and you're done with self-sabotage and you're done with putting the blame on other people, I think this is that beginning stage for you. And okay, so now that, and where can we find that? Because you are Dr. Meghana
Dikshit
on Instagram.
Instagram.
Okay.
I mean, everywhere, Dr. Meghana Dikshit.
Okay, YouTube,
Instagram,
LinkedIn,
Facebook, everywhere it's Dr.
Perfect.
Meghana Dikshit.
And are you Dr. Meghana Dikshit on .com as well?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I'll add it. We'll add it all in the show notes. That's amazing. So as we get into our igniting rapid fire round, what are you braving right now?
Honestly, I think I'm braving through my health because I'm reaching probably perimenopausal stage and I'm a healthy eater. I'm doing all this stuff, but still I think I'm somehow getting this bloating. So I'm trying to figure out my health in a better way.
Yeah.
I think I'm braving through that because everything else is so good and things are really amazing and I'm not able to figure out my body right now.
Yeah.
So I'm just listening it more and more and more.
I love that. I love that. And thank you for sharing that because I think it gives everybody else permission. And what does it mean to be brave?
For me, I think brave means acting in spite of being fearful, being courageous, being bold. And also being brave means seeking for help, not to figure out everything on our own. This is what I learned in my journey because I saw my parents struggling on their own, not seeking any help. I grew up thinking I have to do everything on my own because if you try to take support or help, that means you're weak. That's what a subtle message was to me. So the first thing that I learned, and I'm teaching everybody, that brave means asking for help.
Asking for help.
Yeah, because we're social animals.
Yeah, we need to let other people in.
Yeah, and from the reptilian part of your brain to the mammalian part of your brain and to the neocortex now that you've reached, you have not reached alone. You walked that journey with other people.
So true.
And we are supposed to take help from other people.
100%.
So be more open. That's what I say. The first thing I learned is I am not going to do this on my own. So if I have a health issue, I'm a doctor. Not that I have a health issue, but I know that I need more help. Yeah. So I'm going to seek help from other doctor. I'm not going to sit on the throne of ego and say, oh, I know and I'm taking care of so many people. How can I not take care of myself?
Right.
Because sometimes you can't see your blind spots.
Exactly. You need other people to see it. And that's the most humbling thing.
I have coaches who help me.
Yes.
I have doctors who help me. So I have no shame in asking for help. And I think that's the bravest thing a person can do in their life.
It's brilliant. And one word that describes this season of life?
Progress, profit, and peace. 3 words. Sorry.
Beautiful. The 3 Ps. Dr. Meghana Dikshit, you are just a bright, bold, beautiful light. And I feel like, the work that you are doing here in India and even now globally is just a testament to our ancient wisdom of Ayurveda. And now this is just like the next evolution of Ayurveda into the realms of our emotional health, which obviously we share such a deep passion for, and even healing our lineages. So cheers to more of that.
Yes.
And you will be coming back on. I can't wait to bring you on for part 2, because I think there's just so much to talk about culturally and nuanced with how we can heal collectively.
Absolutely. I would love that. Thank you.
Until next time on the Brave Table.
So many of us interrupt our own peace to avoid contact with the vulnerable sensations and feelings we don't want to be in relation to. So that's drama. It's actually a natural pain reliever. It blocks the pain receptors. So all these things we start to grow an attachment to as a means of surviving, of trying to just make our way through the world.